Okay, sorry.
Oh, we can do the rest.
Yeah, I hit the record button now, so
Okay.
that's a good one because yeah, I'd hate for this all to go by without being able to refer to it. There'll be some good stuff in the photos.
And,
So yeah, I hit the
and
record
then
button
and
and
he
we're
can upload it
okay. Perfect.
later, you know.
Oh, here's another the Purple Mac questions. I found another little treasure trove of them. Apple Watch. Why does Watch sometimes open iMac but not all? Oh, okay. So I think the question is, you can set your Apple Watch to be the password for your Mac. So when you're in proximity with your watch and you wake up your Mac, it will open and it will authenticate to you. But um, these watches are used to authenticate some things, like they're used to authenticate entry into your Mac, like your question asks. These watches are also used to authenticate Apple Pay. For instance, I can walk up to my Apple Pay register at a grocery store and use my watch to pay until I've removed it, though. And that's the answer to this question, too. Why does the watch work sometimes, but not all the time? Now, this watch will unlock my Mac, but if I remove it and then put it back on, it isn't until I authenticate again with my phone that my Mac can trust it. Now, I'm sure you can see why that would happen, right? If somebody, tussled with me and pulled my watch off my wrist and then put it on their wrist and then ran over to my Mac while I'm left behind over there and goes to try to unlock it, it's not going to unlock because the watch has been removed from my wrist. And this watch does know when it's been removed from my wrist. It has sensors that know when it's been removed. When the watch has been removed from my wrist, it doesn't know exactly who's putting it on because it doesn't have a fingerprint sensor or a skin sensor. It doesn't know. So anytime you remove it and put it back on, all of the locks that it used to unlock, it won't unlock anymore until you use your phone to re-authenticate. So there's the answer to that question. I do not have an Instagram account. However, someone is impersonating me and opening a fraudulent Instagram account using my Facebook photo and name, not able to upload my ID photo to Instagram help support site. Yeah. Instagram, any social media, anybody can create an account and they can put your picture and they can put your name and they can pose as you. And anybody can do it and it's not illegal. And even if you report them to Instagram, Instagram will not likely do anything about it because they can do whatever they want. They can now that happened to my friend, Kay, I was talking about. Somebody created an email address that looks very similar to hers. That's how they're tricking all these people. I reported it to Microsoft every day for the last 8 days. I re-forward the email to them. They don't care. So as far as getting any help from like the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Gmails of the world, you won't. They don't really care. So whoever that is that made a fraudulent Instagram account using your Facebook photo and name, hopefully they'll just stop at some point. I mean, you can flag their account, but it's not likely that anybody's going to do anything about it.
It looks kind of funny, Pete. It's me, Randy. I looked on the account online, Instagram. I do not have an Instagram account, but I'm almost discouraged because on the fake account, it has my picture from Facebook, but it shows on Instagram 0 posts, 0 followers, 0 everything.
The least they could do is have 100,000 followers
right.
or something. Yeah.
Well, so don't worry about it is your takeaway.
It is. And it also is not unlikely that somewhere along the way, because these companies are so persistent about getting their tentacles into all your places, somewhere along the way, Facebook might have said, because Facebook owns Instagram,
right?
Facebook might have said, hey, we made you an Instagram account too, based on your Facebook, because you tried to post something and we put it over there. I mean, I've seen these things happen as well, where just by default, I have an account because somebody else owns it. So there's that angle too. It may actually be yours if there's 0 followers and 0.
Well, I actually tried to log on and it is my Facebook photo and it's Randy Hare #1. But when I tried to log in with every email that I have, nothing shows up. And so because 3 people have reported they received odd postings via Messenger, which is a Facebook product. That one called my wife, "Hey, Randy, I don't think it's him, but there were some odd messages. It wasn't very well punctuated, so I really don't think it was Randy, but what's going on there?"
Yep. I did that to somebody once just to play, it was their birthday.
Yeah.
And it was on Facebook a couple years ago when I had a Facebook. I got their profile picture and I changed mine to theirs, and I changed my name and I wished them happy birthday on their Facebook as them. A funny print. Then I changed it back. But it is disheartening when you see that. You're like, wait a minute, somebody's using my name and my picture. It jolts you a little bit. So I know it's disheartening, but hopefully they don't.
All right.
Don't wreak
Thank
any.
you.
Yep. Well, there was the break, and now we're 8 minutes.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey. Look at 7:18. I put a question in, time-wise, in the chat.
Okay, I'm going back there. I even
Thanks.
promised to answer it, and I still haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Here it is. Yes. Okay. I made a small, less than 2-minute video in iMovie on my iPhone, using video and stills from my phone. Well, first of all, amazing. Congratulations. What a great tool that is to use to do that. The finished product will not show up on my other devices in iCloud. No, it will not. Nor can I upload it to Vimeo or Dropbox. Do I need something to project to make it readable somehow? How do I export? Okay. Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna open iMovie because there's a lot to unpack there. So I'm gonna do it as succinctly as possible. But yeah, iMovie projects themselves are in a proprietary iMovie only format that just can't be shared ever. It's just like iMovie is iMovie. That's why it's so important to know how to get your stuff out of iMovie to share elsewhere. And let me share my phone screen here so I can just give you a real quick, hopefully useful look at what that means. You see, okay, here we are. I'm just going to launch iMovie, and just so we can be in there and let's see what's doing. Okay. I have this movie that I edited in iMovie, and I'm just going to open the iMovie interface. I'm all done with my edits, and Joellen, I would imagine that your screen looks something like this, whether you're on your Mac or your iPad or whatever. Now, when I click on done, I'm back to all my projects here. So this is the projects panel, and they don't get shared anywhere, or it won't pick up on another Mac or another device or anything like that. Now, what I can do to get this project that I just made out of my device and into the world, I have to export it somehow or share it. The share sheet down at the bottom is helpful, where I can click the little share thing. But here, it's important to understand what you're seeing here in the share sheet. The save.
Oh, wait. Go ahead.
The save video I found is the best.
Save video.
Yeah, you see that there? Because what that does is just puts the video right in your camera roll and takes it out of the iMovie proprietary wrapper and makes it just a plain old video that you could upload anywhere.
Okay, that's great.
So try that out, and that should.
I needed. Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, and why isn't iMovie syncing between my devices, even though I have it shared and all? I mean, it says in iCloud sync. Anyway, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it's just that iMovie. There's a thing called iMovie Theater, where you can kind of tuck your projects away for viewing later. And then there's iMovie itself. Unfortunately, iMovie projects don't sync. And the reason, the simple answer is that video files are so big that it would just take tons of heavy lifting to get these big video files distributed through all your computers. That's the main reason why it doesn't work. But I know in the future they will have syncing, just like we have with Photos app. They will.
Okay.
So.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Yep. Sorry, I tried to dodge your question.
You
didn't mean to.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into Photos app here, which was the star of today's show. I'd like to take a look at Apple's website. I'm going to maybe shrink myself down here a little bit, so I'm not so visible. And what I'll do is just sort of walk through this with you to get some expectations about like what's going on with photos. Because if you look at the last 10 years, there's been all these evolutions into bigger things. You know, we've left iPhoto, and that was really hard for some of us. I mean, gosh, I was a line level iPhoto expert, and then we had to go to photos, you know. But let's talk about the current state and where we are. I want to kind of roll through this story with you here. Now, I think more than ever, if we look at go in my photo library here and we look at you know, years, I think now more than ever, it's interesting to scroll back through on my phone and see what the years have looked like. Why do I say it's interesting now more than ever? Well, because mobile devices are now mature, like we've had one for 10 years, and then the Photos app and the way it stores photos has matured over the past 5 years or so. So now, if you are following along, you probably should have quite a few useful sort of like sorted years and stuff in photos, which we'll get into in a minute. But to be able to kind of scroll all the way back as far as, I don't know, I'm in 1999 here when my daughter was born, but to have all these photos at my fingertips like this has been just phenomenal. Like we've really, like, I remember 10 years ago wishing this could be a thing, that I could open my phone and scroll through all my photos and see a year's worth of photos at a glance. And you know, I really wished it was a thing. Look at all these photos I can see at a glance, just easily like this. Now it's a reality. So if you're not, you know, totally in the Photos app, it's a lot of good stuff here for you. And then the curation. Curation isn't something I would have believed in before. Back a decade ago, when there was talk about curation and stuff. But now what's amazing is, since your photos are all analyzed, every bit of every photo you have in your library is carefully analyzed by Apple. Now, for those of you whose privacy meter is going off, Apple has made a commitment to us, the customer, to keep all of that all that data on device, not to send that data out to the web, because it's people's faces and, you know, things like that. So if you are worried about the security aspect of it, Apple's, you know, they have a chip on these devices called a secure enclave. It's an actual hardware chip that stores all this information. But here's the cool part about curation, and I'll show you an example. I have this little widget on my phone that will show a photo to me every day. It's sort of like a photo of the day widget. Okay. And that little spot on my phone, that little piece of real estate there, I mean, it's kind of matters to me what I see there, because it's only one photo a day that actually it changes throughout the day, but it's one spot that I can look at throughout the day that delights me throughout the day. I see a picture of somebody there and it delights me. Now, if it was a random picture of a crowd or a landscape picture of some ocean somewhere, there'd be much less delight in my heart when I looked at that. But that, my friends, is my cousin Tony. If you've ever met him, he'll drive you crazy. But the reason I'm saying that is because Tony and I are very close. We FaceTime each other a couple times a week. We talk on the phone often. We text often. Now, my phone knows that. My phone knows who Tony is in all my photos. He knows how often I call him and talk to him. So what my phone does is gets those people that it knows I'm close to and brings them to the forefront. Now, the fact that it's my cousin Tony and that photo is great. And the fact that it's a photo from 25 years ago is even cooler, because I'm going to grab that photo and send it to him and go, haha, look at this photo of you from 25 years ago. This is where the curation thing really has come into maturity, where now it's actually grabbing the people you love and the things you love and showing them to you more. With those kind of smarts and AI, it really does add many moments of surprise and delight. And then magical moments from your library. This is another thing that I've found works really well now. It didn't always, you know, there was always some weird things, but for instance, I'm going to go in the Photos app just because I have a demo on the screen here alongside this I can show you. But in the Photos app, you've got, 4 tabs across the bottom. That's how you get around. So 4 tabs down there. I'm in the For You tab. And look under memories. This was a pretty recent one, but on February 20th, 2021, me and the kids went on a little outing to the park. And so not only does this memory grab that for me and capture things about that day, but it also shows where we were on a map. But just one more little thing I want to show you here is when I went to the Photos app, I looked at the tabs across the bottom to find the For You tab. I went to the For You tab and I saw a bunch of things. One of them was a memories row. When I clicked into it, take a look at the little play button in the corner there. Not only did it get all this stuff together for me, but I can hit the play button and it will sort of show me, I don't love that picture, so I can't wait till it goes away, but I get a little music and it's making a little slideshow for me about that day and the things we did. I didn't make this show. It just figured out, I can go sideways, or let me go right back up. I didn't make this show, but notice that none of the junk photos and none of the junk videos are showing. It's actually just videos with people in it, and it cut to those parts of the video. That's a lot of smart stuff going on there, in case you missed it.
Pete,
Yes.
a lot of times it'll come up with exactly, I love it, but I don't know whether I can save it anywhere for later
Yeah.
or to share.
Good, yeah, good question, Billy. I think let's see, you can. That particular video. So if you do play that video, and let's move over here. So I happened to play this video that the Photos app suggested for me that it made for me, which I thought was very cool. I used to sit there for an hour or two after an outing like this and assemble something to share, like to your point, Billy. So, here I am back out at that For You tab at the bottom, and I see memories, and I can, there's a bunch. So here's one from November 29th. When I do click into it though, I get that little play button. And this is a day we went and took photos at the or the Christmas tree farm. Now, when I hit the play button there, it's going to open up full screen and play my little composition for me. But I'm going to pause it because take a look. This is amazing to me. There are sliders here for me to be able to decide a few things about this. Now, hey, my crowd out there, you folks who are getting ready to ask me questions about, well, how do I change the order and how do I put titles on there and all that stuff? Yes, I love you. You're my crowd. This isn't the thing to use for that, though. This is all pre-made stuff. But they give you a couple of sliders. Like, take a look. I can slide this slider here, and it's clicking from all these different choices. I can do dreamy, sentimental, gentle, chill, happy, uplifting, epic, club, extreme. I'm just going to put uplifting and a happy or family that day. I'm going to put a happy. And then right below that, do you see those little selections? Right below that, I have short and medium. So I'm just going to leave it on medium. I'm going to hit play, and I'll put this near the mic so you can kind of hear that. And you can see what's going on there. It's adding some filters. It's composing some shots for me. It's got people in the shot that I love. And so it's really cool way to get a little slideshow. Now, if I didn't like that music, I can change it. I want to do sentimental. I'm going to try that. Right, you get a little bit of a different vibe. You'll also notice that the transitions are a little bit slower. So a lot of cool things in that For You tab under the memories row. And when you click in, you do have some choices that you can make. One last thing, lower left corner of that screen, I have a share sheet. So Billy, this is back to your question. I can now share this memory with somebody. So I'm going to share it with one of my kids here. By the way, she grabbed my phone and she changed her name to least favorite. I didn't do that. I would feel bad if I had done that. I didn't do that, but I want you guys to know she did that. And as a punishment, I left it like that. I told her, well, you're going to grab my phone and mess with it. And I'm going to leave it like that. But you can see here, I can hit the send button, and now she's got that memory in her text messages that she can play just like I was able to here. So that is the way to share it, Billy, using that little share sheet there.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Then let me see, go back here. I'm going to hit that mute all button again, just to make sure there's no background distractions. Please unmute if anytime you'd like to talk. I don't mind interruptions at all, but background noise should definitely be minimized. So then editing, I really want to spend some time on that, the editing. So I'm going to whiz through the rest of this just so we can touch on some of the things. The Photos app now allows you to edit video. It didn't before. To edit a video of any kind, you had to take it into the iMovie app, but now you can trim a video right in the Photos app. So we're going to go there and do that. Raw images are now editable right inside of the Photos app. And I'm talking aperture level control over raw photos. Now, wait a minute, there's a little asterisk about raw. You can import raw from your digital SLR. That's one way to get raw images into your photos library. But if you have an iPhone 12 Pro, those things shoot raw right from the phone. You have to enable it though. So stick around at the end if you're an iPhone 12 Pro user and you're not sure if you have raw photos enabled in the camera app, and I'll show you. But I don't want to spend any time now because we got so much to get to. This is find your favorite moments with ease. This slide speaks to the memories we just looked at. So there'll be more on that in a minute. But another thing that I want to show you that I think is amazing about the Photos app now, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about how it analyzes every one of your photos. I'm going to go back to my library. I'm going to use the magnifying glass to search, and I'm just going to put in the word food. Remarkably, it goes through my entire 20,000 photo library and finds photos with food in it. Amazing. Now, does it always get it right? I don't know. Let's check. This photo definitely has food in it. Not bad. I'm having trouble finding the food in this photo, unless you're eating babies. That's not food. So not food. Maybe it thinks this is some food over on the side here. Who knows? I do love a chubby baby, but not food. This is food, and there's lots of other things that are food. In fact, of these 9 that we're seeing here, only one. Well, I guess this is technically food, but check this out. How about animals? I can just put in animals in my search, and it will search my entire library for pictures with animals in it. And I'm able to then hit the see all button and scroll through all my library with just animals separated out. And it's pretty smart. I mean, it knew that was an animal. That's a clip art. So that's pretty cool. Great search functions now. And because it analyzes every photo in your library, I can put in something like lake. And look at that, pictures of us on the lake. If I hit see all here, I'm sure it's not always going to get it right. But so far, if my 20,000 photos is narrowed down to just the few with a lake in it, I'm happy. How about the color orange? Let's see photos that contain the color orange. Lots of different ways to, hey, Lisa K. Who remembers Lisa K? Lisa Calpan, a friend of ours. It was her birthday the other day. I think that's why she's popping up here. Anyway, lots of really good search features and powerful search tools. And then the Photos app is available on every device, including Apple TV. If you want to flip through albums on Apple TV, it's simply an app. So if you have an Apple TV, you probably already have the Photos app on there. Or if you want it on there, you would just search the App Store. It's on your Mac, it's on your iPad, it's on your iPhone. You can even view photos on your watch. You can make watch faces with your photos. So lots of interesting things there. I want to go in and get in these editing features. So that's what I'd like to do next. Let me pause and check the chat and see if there is Pete has more photos of animals than food. I doubt it. I doubt it. I think I have more photos of food than anything, but hey.
Hey, Pete,
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
this is Bev. Back on the memories, where you could have a choice of short or medium on the play. I'm following along on my phone and I only shows short.
Yep. Yeah, there are going to be times when it has lots of options like short, long, medium, but there are going to be other times when you don't get that. Like for instance, you can see on mine, I only have short and medium for this one. But if I go back to the other memory I had, which I think was this one, I think I did get a short, long, and medium. Oh no, this one was short only.
Okay.
And the
okay.
reason is it's based on the amount of stuff you have. So if you went out for a day and you took 500 photos, well, it's going to allow you to have a nice long duration. But if you don't have enough, it's going to hold you to short or medium.
Okay, thanks.
You're
Can
welcome.
I just say, you can also take stuff out. There is the option to edit, to take out images.
Edit and reorder them if you want. You can, yeah, there's different
Yeah.
things you can do. I think a little bit, to
Mhm.
your point, if you want to edit a little bit.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend that if you're starting a project where you want to make a slideshow or something, that you do that outside of the Photos app in iMovie is really, in my opinion, the best way. And then featured photos. This is interesting, but I'm hard pressed to find a bad photo here. I mean, that's my cousin. There's me and my daughter. That's my son, me and my wife, my son again. That looks
Good
great to
food.
me. That was on this day 5 years ago. So that's why it got featured today, is to give me that memory that 5 years ago I was sitting in a pub traveling. Disney, dear friends of mine there. Now, this is the only one I might call into question. I took this picture at the dog park of two dogs that I love to spend time with, but I don't know them very well. So, but there's me and my wife again, and it's a picture of my shed, but it isn't on this day 1 year ago. I finished building my shed. So those are also fun, the featured photos. Go ahead and flip through those and take a look. You never know. And effect suggestions is also really good. It's basically saying, hey, if you use studio lighting, you can get some cool things out of this photo. Just while we're here, if you are in effect suggestions and you click on one, if you hold your finger down anywhere on the screen, it will give you a comparison of before you apply the photo effect and after. So lifting my thumb off the screen shows me what it would be if I applied it, and pressing down shows me before. Those portrait effects are kind of cool. More on that when we get into the editing. So back to library, only 4 tabs across the bottom. You got library, for you, albums, and search. I spend most of my time in albums. That's almost always where I am, is in albums here. And then, yeah, this is where you're likely to find anything you're looking for, because your albums are all listed here. Let's talk about a few important things in this screen. So again, I'm just in the Photos app. Down at the bottom under the 4 tabs, I've navigated over to albums, and I'm just on the front page of the albums section. So we're scrolling through and looking at all these albums. People and Places is an amazing album. If you haven't spent any time in there, I suggest you do. And what this does is helps you identify people in your library. So if I click on that, I have my favorites, which is my immediate family. And then I have other people down here that aren't up there in my favorites, and each one of these, if I tap on the photo, you'll see a banner across the top if I tap on my photos here. And that banner across the top is telling me something. It's saying, hey, there are additional photos that we think might be you. Can you look at them for us, please? So if I go to the review button here and I look at those photos, it's basically saying, hey, we think we found you in these 9 photos. Now, the one in the top middle, I'm not really killing my cat. We're posing for a photo. Is that Tiger? Tiger was actually named after a Mac OS operating system, but that was a fun photo. Not no animals were harmed in that photo. But check it out. It, interestingly enough, it pulled up my daughter. You see that upper left photo? That's not me. So what it's doing is presenting these to me saying, hey, can you please verify if these are you or not? So I'm going to uncheck that one, but the rest are. So I'm just going to hit done here and add those. If you don't see that banner, you can hit the little ellipsis up there in the upper right-hand corner, and you can say confirm additional photos from here. So if you didn't see that banner at the top, you can always come here manually and see if there are any more to confirm. And sure enough, it's saying, is this you? Yes, that one is. Yes, this one is as well. Now I've only confirmed twice. Have you noticed that? I only hit the confirm button twice. But what does it say up at the top there? 12 photos were added. Now, the reason for this is once you give it data, it's able to confirm more things because it has more data. And saying no is just as important as saying yes, right? Because it needs to know what you're not just as much as it needs to know what you are. So like this, for instance, that might have been me, but it was done with a filter I was playing with or something. So I'm just going to say no, since it's a filtered image, but this one is a yes. This one's a yes. Yeah. So go through and check these sometimes because it really does help. Oh, I had a swollen eye there. It really does help identify you, and in your photos, when it's pulling photos of you up, it's much more accurate. I can go into the kids here. I'll hit review and see if, now here's another thing I think is pretty remarkable, but it takes the facial structure and goes all the way back. Look at that photo on the right, in the middle. That's my kid when she was, I don't know, 8 months old. So yes, these are all her. I can hit confirm and it's going to add a bunch of photos. So if you don't spend any time in the people album, I suggest you do, because that only makes it more fun to use the Photos app when it knows who everybody is in your life. One last thing about that is when you're naming these people, like here's my mom. When you're naming these people, to name them, you just tap their name at the top there. You see how my mom's name is in blue up there? If I tap that, it allows me to name her. This is important. When you're naming somebody, like I'm going to name my mom here, I want to select her contact. I could just give her any old name. I could just say Judy and stop there like I have. But if I link her to my contacts, it just opens up the doors for the Photos app to know that much more about that person. So I'm going to make sure I open up the contacts, or I'm going to make sure that when it lists them, I'm going to select her contact. Anyhow, spend some time in the people album. It's a lot of fun. I clean mine up about twice a month. I go in there, I make sure I say my yeses and nos to the photos and stuff, and I keep it clean because it does make the experience more enjoyable. Why, you might ask? Well, look, you see on my screen there, this little pizza photo that says family right there. You see those little icons on there? That's telling me in advance who's in those photos because it knows. How does it know? Because, well, I identified them. So lots of good stuff there in the people album. One more I just want to show you is places. If you don't already know about places, it is so much fun. I'm going to tap on places and look what happened. A whole map of the world showing the places I've been. Now, kind of sad that the places I've been only include North America. Someday I'll get somewhere else. And you might be going, well, why are there pictures here showing in Asia then? These are photos that friends or family have sent me, and I've saved those photos. And so the metadata for that photo, since it was taken there, is showing there. So I have never actually been to those places, but you can see here in my North America photos, not only do I see some pins on the map, but there's a number by those pins saying how many photos are taken there. So if you had to guess, where would you say I've been the most? The West Coast and the East Coast, because I have family there. Now notice as I start to zoom into these, they start to separate. They start to break up a little bit because the geography, as I get closer, gets more specific. Now, obviously near my home, there's going to be a lot, but what the heck was I doing here? Where's that? Oh, I was just flying out. So I took some pictures there. Where I went on a trip to Half Moon Bay down in you know, Bay Area there. If I'm looking for that trip, it makes it real easy for me to be able to zoom in to that area and find, hey, there's 240 pictures taken here. I'm gonna guess or bet that that's probably the trip. So if you have fun looking at places you've been, go in that places album and you can see either a grid or a map there. A lot of people ask me, well, how does the photos know where they've been taken? Well, any photo you've taken with your iPhone will stamp that photo with the location. Now, if you've taken photos with a digital camera, doesn't always stamp the location. In fact, it would take a pretty advanced digital camera to do the location thing. On your Mac, you can actually assign locations to batches of photos. So if you went to Zimbabwe and took 700 photos, but it was with your digital camera and they don't show as being taken there, you can select them all in the Photos app on your Mac and tell it these were all taken in Zimbabwe. So you can add information about a photo. You just can't do it on your phone. You got to do that on your Mac. I'm looking at the photos. Can I copy edits from one phone to another photo? So I think that question, and please get me back on course if I'm wrong, Melissa, is that if I take this photo here and I go and edit it, as long as I'm logged in to iCloud Photo Library, all of those edits will propagate across all my devices. So if I put a filter on here, let's say, just go and get a filter like let's see, this one, dramatic warm, and click done. Now, if I pull this up on my iPad, the edit will have been done.
No, Pete, actually, if you took 5 pictures from different angles of this same plate and you made this one change, could you then apply that change to those other 4 photos?
I understand now. Yeah, good question too. Back in the iPhoto days or Aperture or whatever, we would spend our time tweaking a photo just like we like it, and then other similar photos could have the same treatment pasted onto those by copying those parameters and pasting them. Doesn't exist here in the Photos app yet. I know that's a frequently requested feature, but we haven't seen that yet. Now let's go back into the edits of this photo. We'll just use this photo for now, and let's jump into the edits. A quick thing from Darian there on my phone. The only album is recents. What do I have to get to people or play? What do I have to do? Yeah, on albums, you probably have this recents up here under my albums, but if you scroll down lower, that's where you start to get this list of all these. And what's nice about this list is it breaks out the videos for you. You probably didn't even know this. It just does this all automatically. It'll break out videos for you in a whole separate album if you want to see those. Selfies, that's all pictures that are taken with the front-facing camera. Live photos, portrait mode, all your panoramas, your time lapses, your slow-mos, your bursts, your screenshots. They're all separated out for you here. But I think you just have to scroll down a little bit because you see I have my recents here in this little area, but if I keep scrolling, I get my shared albums in this area, and then a little further down, I get people in places and then media types. So should be there for you. Hopefully it is. How do you create albums? The plus in the upper left. It's just that easy. If you're in the albums tab, which remember the 4 tabs across the bottom are how you get around. If you're in the albums tab in the very upper left, you'll see a plus. If you click that, you can create a new album. You can create a folder, which you can put a bunch of albums in, or you can create a new album. So let's edit the photo. We're going to go back to this photo here and hit the edit button. Now, when you hit the edit button on a photo, you get an ellipsis in the upper right. I want to start by talking about that little ellipsis in the upper right. I'm going to tap it so you can see what comes up. But here in this sheet that just popped up from the bottom are where all the other apps that I have on my device that will allow me to edit a photo show up here. Now, why, you might ask? What the heck do we want that for? Well, if you don't want to edit your photo in the Photos app, you want to edit it in another app like Photoshop Express. You see in the middle of my little screen down there, I have that blue diamond, which is Photoshop Express. Or you might want to use other things for other reasons, like retype to put a caption on it or something. But that little ellipse is where you will be able to access these. Now, here's the thing I like about what Apple's done by allowing you to access these things right inside the Photos app. Because you might be wondering, well, Pete, if I wanted to go to that app, why wouldn't I just quit Photos and go to that app? I mean, then I could open it, grab the photo, edit it, and then send the photo back to the Photos app. Well, you could, but what this does is allows you to do the editing without ever leaving the Photos app. So just to remind you of where we are, I'm going to back out and do this again. Sometimes we get lost in our steps. Here is our photo library, and I'm just going to click on a photo like this one to bring it up. I will then do the edit button here. So we're really just in photo editing mode. And in the upper right is the ellipse. If I click it, that's where I will see a list of all of the apps I have on this current device that will allow me to edit a photo. You might be going, well, I don't have any. That could be true. You may not have any apps that allow you to edit a photo within the Photos app. You may want to go get some. There's some cool ones out here. You may want to look at my screen for ideas if you do. I want to show you one that I think is kind of funny, though. It's called Bitcam. Why do I think it's funny? You guys will get it. Bitcam makes your photo look like the old 8-bit Macintoshes that we're used to. You see those pixels? Remember the Macs, the 8-bit Macintoshes? It does. It's just like those. If you had one of those, the black and white Macs. But just one last thing about that. The magic of this is after you go into your app or whatever, and I might want to just put my overlay here. I go in this app, I put my overlay down there, and then I'll click done. And these apps all differ, with the different things that they offer you. This particular app, which I like, it's called Retype. I think it's free. Allows you to put, a saying or something over your photo. Now check this out. Here's where the magic comes in. Let me set it up for you. We're in the Photos app. We didn't launch any other app. We're in the Photos app. Within the Photos app, I hit the edit, and then I accessed all the tools that are in a different app called Retype. Now, when I hit done here, that photo gets saved right in my Photos library with those changes. So now I'm scrolling through my photos, and there it is. I didn't have to launch the app, find this photo, do this thing, share the app back to the Photos app, and then go back to Photos and go find it. Right from the Photos app, I was able to take a photo, go into edit mode, in the ellipse in the upper right, find the app I would like to use to edit it. And I'm just going to go to Effects Studio here to see what they have to offer. And I've got all these different effects I can choose from that are not in the Photos app. If you're just using the Photos app, you won't see these. I find one that I like, and then I click done. And what happened right there in my Photos app, the photo got saved. Now you might be going, Pete, you just ruined a perfectly good photo. Why'd you do that? You put this darn grayscale filter on it. Well, Photos is all non-destructive editing. So I can chop this darn thing up any old way I want. In fact, I'm going to go back under edit. I'm going to crop myself out of it. She's writing in Korean here, and I used an app to translate it. So I'm just going to crop to that. I ruined a perfectly good photo. Well, at any time, you can go back under the edit menu, and you will find a revert button in the lower right. That will allow you to revert your photo all the way back to the way it was when you first imported it. Let that sink in for a minute, because that's pretty big. You can hack up any of these photos any way you want. and always be able to get it back just the way it was when you first imported it. Well, now that you told me that, Pete, I'd rather not lose the edits I made. You see these edits I've done? I want to revert back, but I also want to keep this. Is that possible? Heck yes. Through the magic of duplication, it is possible. So you remember what this photo looked like a minute ago, or maybe you don't. I'm going to duplicate it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the share button in the lower left. That's where you find the duplicate command. I'm going to use that share button that brings this little sheet up from the bottom. One of the options here is duplicate. You see that? So if I hit the duplicate command, I now have what? 2 versions of that photo. One's over here and one's over here. Now I'm going to take one of the 2 versions. I'm going to go back to edit and I'm going to say revert to original. Now look what I've done. I've got this version, which I really messed up, but since I duplicated it and reverted, I've got that version again. So before we get into the editing sliders and stuff, I just want you to know all editing done in this app is non-destructive. You can always get back the original fidelity of the photo. And if you want, you could duplicate it before you start editing. So you preserve the original and you can duplicate. So let's see, what can I find here? Here's a, let's see, is there a photo that I can, here's a photo. I edited this heavily the other day and I don't like the way it came out. So I'm just going to duplicate it for the heck of it. So I have both versions, and then under edit, I'm going to say revert to original. And that's how it used to look. So now I have both versions. I have the original version and the version that I duplicated. So just know that going in, that is non-destructive editing. You can always get your original back. And if you think you might want to save iterations as you're editing, you don't want to go all the way back, you can duplicate the photo anytime you want and as many times as you want. So if you wanted 20 different versions of that photo, you could duplicate it 20 times and edit all 20 instances if you want. Okay, getting back to editing one of these videos. Ooh, well, hey, hello there, homemade pizza. Yeah, so if I'm in here and I hit the edit button, I now want to talk about the sliders. Now we talked about the little ellipse in the upper right-hand corner. You know how to add apps to that, and that is by going and getting them from the App Store. Al, if I can put this on you here, I don't mean to impose, but I bet you if you Google the best apps for editing in the Photos app, there's probably, using extensions, because that's what that's called, is extensions. The best apps for using extensions in Photos or something, that would be amazing, because if you posted a link there, because then people could go and find some of these cool apps. But anyway, I hit the edit button, and now I want to show you these edit sliders. At first, there's only 3, so it really doesn't look like there's much to it. I mean, it's like, Pete, gosh, the editing capabilities of the Photos app on my phone are really low. They're not. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be so bold as to say I can do almost all the stuff I used to do in Aperture right here. Now, the only thing is I can't do are like the brush tools, like the loop and the brush tools. But look, if you slide this slider, look how much stuff is in here. It just keeps going and going and going. There's a lot of things, and I'm going to go through every one of them fairly quickly, because the only way to really learn this is to just tinker. You just got to get in here when you're bored and slide the slider of each one of these just to see what it does. And don't forget, at the end, you can always revert to the original or not even save your changes. So it's really convenient. The first one is the magic wand. When you click it, sometimes you get really cool results and sometimes you don't. I just clicked it to see what would happen. And to be honest, I kind of like it before I clicked it better. I like the original better. So I'm going to keep the original. I'm going to go to the next item, which is the exposure. Okay, this will help fix a photo if it's underexposed or overexposed just by sliding the slider. I want to point some things out to you about these sliders. Now you see I'm sliding the exposure slider back and forth, but do you see the little dot on my screen that's riding the line back and forth as I'm sliding it? That dot represents Apple's recommendation. They're saying, based on the analysis of this image, we think exposure, or not we think, our histogram tells us that the best exposure is on that dot. So this is Apple's analysis. Now I like grabbing that thing and going real high and real low just to see what kind of effects that I get. And it turns out most of the time they're right. That dang dot is exactly where I want to be. So just pay attention to that. Thank you very much, Al, for posting those. For those of you who are nerds, like Shutterbug nerds like me, and you want to look around, there's probably some great stuff in there. The next one is brilliance. I'm going to slide that up and down to see what that does. And you can go through all of these interesting sliders and just sort of break it. Just sort of see what looks good and what doesn't. Here's a contrast slider. You can really make some cool effects with these photos and sliders and stuff. Then you start to get into things like black point, meaning how deep are those blacks? Are we going to pull the detail out by lightening them up in those really dark spots? You can see here, the bottom of my pizza crust down there is really lit now. If I go this way, it's really dark and kind of murky. So depending on your photo, Apple's analysis might not be right. You see where their little dot is right in the middle? I want it over here because I want to get me some details in that crust. Saturation. You know, you ever see a photo on like an Android, like a Samsung? They crank up their saturation to try to catch people's eye. It's really unnatural. But here's where you could emulate that if you wanted to. You could really crank that up. I don't like too much saturation. So I'm going to go, I actually bring it down just a little bit. I like to bring it just a little lower than Apple's recommendation. Then you got vibrance, which does different things. You know, I'm going to make some of these colors pop, your warmth or your temperature, your tint. And all these are just in a slider right there at your fingertips. They're not hard to find. They're not hidden underneath any menus. They're just sitting right there. You just keep sliding along and you can access all these things. And then vignette. Don't overlook vignette. That's one of my favorites. It makes the very corners a little dark to draw your viewers' attention right into the middle there. Now that I'm done, well, those are all the sliders there. Be sure to tinker with those and take a look at them. They're amazing. Now that I'm done with those sliders, you see the three icons along the bottom, that little cluster down there. Those are the three different modes you have in edit mode in photos, right? We happen to be in the sliders. It's represented by the icon of a little knob there. You see the little knob with the dots around it. That's what we're in now. The middle one is filters. These are all pre-made filters from Apple. There's some good ones, some not so good, but if you're looking for a filter, it's almost like a template. It's just pre-made filters. Not much creativity there. But the next one over, it's important that we spend a minute on this. This allows you to crop. It also allows you to rotate the photo. So if you wanted to do some rotating here, you can rotate the photo. It will allow you to crop or do some keystoning. They call this keystoning, but if you have a distorted building or something and you wanted to do some keystoning, you can kind of do that here with these sliders that I found in the crop mode down there at the bottom. Ooh, that time is sneaking up on us. So we're up, but also in the crop mode at the top of my crop mode, you'll see in the upper left, you have the ability to flip the photo, because sometimes you want the mirror image of it. You just want to flip it. So that's under crop in the upper left. And then right next to that is the rotate, in case you wanted to rotate it around. Now, as we move across the top, we see the word reset, but let's keep moving. And then you get this little, it's a box with little mini boxes inside of it. That, my friends, is magical, because that little box allows you to select an aspect ratio that might be right for you. Now, why is this important? Well, let me tell you, maybe you're making a slideshow and you know that you need 16 by 9 of all your slides, right? That's how you're going to show it on a screen at a with a projector. So you want all your photos to be that aspect ratio. You can come here to this crop command under edit in photos. That's where we are, right? The crop command, which on the cluster of icons at the bottom is the rightmost one. You see on mine, I have a little light under it to indicate that that's where I am. And what I'm going to do is take this photo and I'm going to tell it that I want a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. 16:9. That will make it so I know exactly where the boundaries are for this photo because it's locking me into an exact 16:9. Now, maybe I bought a picture frame at Target and it's an 8x10 picture frame or something like that. I can go in here and set 8x10. Because as you've probably noticed over the years, it isn't as easy as just taking a photo and blowing it up because then it doesn't fit properly in the frame. So aspect ratios, or in simple English, the shape of the photo is really important. And this can all be manipulated here. When you're posting on social media, sometimes a square is the way to go. Well, there's your square option right there. You can click the done button here and that's going to be saved with all our editing changes. You see the nice vignette around the border. It's now a square. It's now ready to post on Instagram. Now, I don't have an Instagram, but it's now, it's now ready to post. So those are the editing features. The only way to get great at them is to get in there and tinker around. The last thing I want to talk about, I'll make it fairly quick, is the share. When I click that share button in the lower left of my screen, I'm able to text that over to a bunch of suggested people here, or there are other options down below here. There are a lot of other options down below. And many of these are very useful options like save to Dropbox. I can now save a photo from my photos library right to Dropbox, or use as wallpaper, or copy iCloud link. Many of you have asked me, how do I share a video or a photo with just the link? Well, now I can use this command you see here, copy iCloud link. So, hey, let's find a video. Look, I've got a big video on my phone and it's a few minutes long. It's really too big for me to send out. Here it is, little overview of our go-kart racing around the neighborhood. Now, if I want to share this and I try to attach this, like let's say to an email or something, the video is going to be too large for you to receive. But if I go down here to copy iCloud link, I could now go text that to you. Go in here and find this and send the link to that just by pasting it right in here. Oh, why don't I send Jess this link? Just so you can see on the other end, this is what she would see. Just this little link, because she uses an Android phone. So she would see that little link, but if you click it, it takes you right to a web page where you can view that link, or your viewer would be taken right to a web page where they could view that link. I just want to unpack that really quickly. Mostly sharing photos is easy. You text them to people, you could email photos and stuff. If you had a video that was really large and you wanted to send it to somebody, it could be problematic because of the size of the video. But if you go to share and you scroll down in the Photos app, you'll see an option that says copy iCloud link. That would make it so you could send a really big video. And somebody asked earlier about an iMovie project. Somebody asked, somebody asked about that. That's how you could take a really big video and share it without the heavy lifting of trying to move that video from your computer to theirs. Whew, I got through everything I wanted to get through, albeit fastly, but with that, we're right up on time. And I didn't even leave time for the raffle. I'm sorry, Lisa, but we are right up on time. I'm going to stick around for all those of you who want to and do a little Q&A or hang out for a little bit. I'm not going to go anywhere because I know we're really tight on time. So I'm happy to help with the raffle if I can, or even just stick around for Q&A once the raffle's done. So whoever's going to do that raffle, I'll turn it over to you. Oh, wait, I pick a number, don't I? I'm supposed to pick like a number.
Yeah, Pete, you get to be the person who asks your phone.
Cool.
It's a random number generation. And for our participant raffle, Mary Wanschneider is going to help you out there because she did all the work. So she gets to have all the glory.
Very nice.
So just pick a number between 1 and 53 for the $25 raffle.
Okay, I'm going to go here and you guys can see my screen right there. So here we go. Give me a number between 1 and 53. There it is. For the record, it is 27.
Why 53?
Joe Ellen Arnold.
Mary.
Yay.
Mary.
Yes.
why 53, don't you? There's 300 and some people on that list.
This is just the one for the attendees, right?
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's all right. How many of these do we do?
We do 4 25s and 2 100s for the attendees.
Gotcha. So 4 $25 gift cards and 2 $100 gift cards. I would imagine that 27, which was Joellen Arnold, was one of the 25s probably, or I don't want to say that.
Right.
Okay, sorry, Joellen. I hope I didn't sell you short there. Okay, let's do another one. Pick a number between 1 and 53. And I'll kind of speed through these. The recording will catch them. There's number 8. Pick a number between 1 and 53. There's a 37 there. Pick a number between
Wait a
1
minute,
and
wait.
53.
That
Oh,
was
I'll just
30
finish those 4 and then we can announce
Did you say 30?
37.
37.
That's me. I'm sorry, but
No apology necessary. Pick a number between 1 and 53. 8 and 8 actually came up twice. So it was 37, 8, and 8 to round
And
out the 4
27.
25s.
Well, we need to do another one for the 8 because you can only win 1 card in a
Gotcha.
cap.
Well, here goes. Pick a number between 1 and 53. 32.
32. Okay, that's Chris Dobson. And number 8 was Karma Okerberg,
Nice. There
And
we
I
go.
was- 37. So, and
And then, did you want me to redraw since you won? Is there an eligibility thing, or do I?
oh,
did you
heck
do good?
no.
Okay, good. You keep that. Good. All right, and now we're doing 2 100s, right?
Isn't one of the 100s for the all members, Lisa, the second one?
That's the third one.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
And is it correct that everybody goes back in for this one, or is it still if you've already won, you've already won?
If you've already won a 25, you get to choose whether you want to keep the 25 or the 100.
Well, that's a tough decision, but let's see who has to make it.
Hmm.
Pick a number between 1 and 53. That one's number 4. So
Bev Lawrence. Okay.
one of the $100 prizes goes to Bev Lawrence, and 2 more, I think, right?
I'll unmute myself. Thank you.
Hey, that's a good reason to unmute yourself for sure. Congratulations. And then here's another one. Pick a number between 1 and 53. That's 50.
Cheryl, Susan.
Wow.
Nice. Congrats.
And then now the last one you do is for, and Lisa's got that list. That's the all, it's goes out to all members.
Understood.
Are eligible.
All members, we have 349 participants.
Excellent. Pick a number between 1 and 349. 154.
154 is Paul Kohler.
Hey,
Well,
wow.
there you go.
54, yeah. All right.
Now is any of those hundreds, now those $100 winners, I think you're eligible to trade with the 25s if you wanted to. Anybody want to trade 100 in? Okay, no,
Thank you,
and-
Pete.
you're
Thanks,
welcome. Yep,
Pete.
my pleasure. And that concludes, I think. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to leave. We're not going to shut anything off, but I'm just saying I think that concludes the regularly scheduled program. So since that concludes it, I wanted to say a thank you to you all before anybody leaves. Thank you very much for sitting here with me for this couple of hours and walking through some of my favorite topics here. And I'm always available to you, an email away, and I usually get back pretty quickly. So please don't hesitate to email if you ever need something. I'll put my email in the chat. gmail.com and just in case, and like I said, I'm usually pretty responsive, those kinds of things. And then with that, I think I'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody wants to hang out or get some clarifying questions answered, or we'll jump back in and view something, whatever it is.
You can say just stop shooting raw.
Hey, Pete,
Yes.
question about shooting raw pictures.
Yeah. So
We should remind everyone to save the chat.
oh, good idea. Yeah. In the chat box or near the chat box, there should be a little ellipse or a button that says file. You can save the chat with that button if you wanted to scroll back up and see all the links. I mean, the curation of links that gets put in that chat is worth the price of admission right there. So lots of good stuff there if you want to save it out. Then if you are the owner of an iPhone 12 Pro, and you have this cluster of sinister looking lenses here like this, you can shoot RAW directly on your device. First things first, there was an iOS update that that you must have applied to get that feature. Let me see, is that? No, I can't share. Yeah, so step one is make sure your iOS is up to date, fully up to date, and that's in settings. You can go to settings under general, and then under general you have software updates. So that is where it would check to see if you are due for an update. As far as people asking, I often get the question, is it safe to update, whether it be on the Mac or the iOS? You'd be crazy not to, in my opinion. I mean, it's not safe not to update. Yes, some things might, I don't know. I've heard stories of a printer not working, this and that, or whatever. I've never waited a day. I update that day. So I do think you should update. It's my opinion. There are differing opinions and I respect all of them, but I do think you should stay updated. Now, after you've updated, if you go down in the settings app, if you go down to in settings, there's a camera setting. Go there. I had to scroll about midway down. It was in a little cluster of media, has music, TV, photos. You see the little camera right there. If I go in there, I am able to look at the different formats as the top one. If you're following along and you're not on an iPhone 12 Pro, your selections may differ. The first selection for me is formats. And if I go under there, under photo capture, you see I have a little toggle for Apple Pro RAW. That's where you'll you toggle that on and you will have, now you'll be shooting RAW. Just a warning for those of you who do want to do this, you may not like what you see. And the reason for that is that RAW images don't go through the same processor as JPEG images. JPEG images go through a processor, and that processor basically adds some things and subtracts some things. When you do RAW, it doesn't go through that processor. And I have a pretty good visual representation of that for those of us who are just hanging out. I think I can show you. I'll let that load up. Oh no, I didn't.
You found your thing?
Okay, never mind. I don't think I'll spend any time on that one. But oh, where did that go? Anyway, you may not like what you see because when a photo is processed with JPEG, it strips out a lot of the fidelity. That sounds negative, but it's not really a negative thing. It strips out a lot of the fidelity. Why? Because we want photos to be portable and easy to share. I mean, 99.9% of the photos we look at every day are some thumbnail size thing that we're scrolling by on a little web browser on our phone or something. Like the world really likes small JPEGs. That's the world we live in. RAW is a big file. you know, so the raw, if you do switch this on your phone, not only might you not like what you see because it's an unprocessed image, it's kind of like unseasoned food, I guess. But when you go into the edit function on photos and you start sliding those sliders, it's amazing the difference that you get. Because when you slide those sliders with a JPEG photo, all of the fidelity is stripped out, meaning it's basically a what you see is what you get slider. When you're doing raw, there's so much you can't see behind, you know, there's pixels behind other pixels. With things like HDR, what HDR is where your phone takes several pictures in succession. And then it says, I'm going to pull the best parts out of the lightest photo and the best parts out of the darkest photo, bring them to the middle photo and make a photo that's amazing. If any of you have ever been on like Zillow and you've looked at houses and stuff, it's a really bad example. In fact, I'll pull up Zillow because I want to show you this really bad example of the use of HDR. And it's on almost every house, so it doesn't even really matter. We could just search a zip code and go to a house. When you see one of these that's posted by a realtor, inside you get these inside photos and you'll see a window in the room, and the window will be fully lit to the outdoors only because see, this is one that did not use it. Do you see how that window is all bright? You can't see any detail in that window. That's an example of no HDR, because an HDR photo would have taken a dark one, a light one, and then combined them together. When you see one, shoot, I'll just look at my old house. My old house got posted when we sold it, and they really did some weird looking HDR stuff. I'll just show you. Here it is. Public view. So anytime you see, and here's an example, you see how perfectly clear the outdoors are here? That's not a real thing. You couldn't take a picture and have the picture be perfectly exposed on the outside and perfectly exposed on the inside. That's where HDR comes in. This particular type of camera, which is made for real estate, spends a lot of time processing that photo on the outside and spends a lot of time processing the photo on the inside, and then the thing sews those together. So when you shoot in RAW and when you go back to look at the photo, you're going to see a raw version of the photo, but you're going to get much more fidelity out of those sliders. I highly recommend you try it and see if you like it. Some other things that are worth noting in here are the raw photos are going to be much larger file size. So if your phone's capacity is, you know, if your phone is reaching its capacity, you should always stay about, you know, 10 or 15% within your capacity. If your phone is reaching its capacity, well, then turning on raw photos is going to make much larger file sizes. So that's another thing to consider both now. And it's another thing to consider when you're waiting in line to buy your phone and you're looking up at that big menu board and it says, well, I could buy this one for $300 less. Why not? Well, the why not is then you start running out of space because you didn't get the 128 or the 256 or whatever. Another thing that you should look at here is your video format. Under the record video option there, you have all these choices. Now, naturally, I have mine set at the very highest quality, at the very highest frame rate, but that also results in the very highest file sizes.
Format.
So that's not ideal.
Video.
I'm going to do that mute all thing. There we go. And if you definitely come off mute if you want to add to the conversation. I don't mind interruptions at all. So please do. I didn't, just minimizing background noise there. Now I want to show you another thing while you're hanging out. I mean, this is obviously the geeks, the shutterbugs, the people who like this kind of stuff. Here's a sneak peek into what's in front of me here. There's the camera that's filming me and some apparatus in front of me here. But what I want to show you is the viewfinder on my phone. You probably already knew that I could tap my finger in certain places to tell my phone I want it to expose for that particular place, you see? So I'm going to just turn it over to the side here. There's my green screen behind me coming from the ceiling and stuff. If I go over here and I tap on my white door to expose the photo, it's going to be different than if I tap on the black floor to expose the photo. You can see the difference between the two there, right? Well, the thing about these phones is that they're on autofocus, you know, so if I tap on the black carpet to make things brighter, but then I move back up here, it's darkening again. What you might not have known is I can tap once to expose for that lighter area, but then if I hold my finger down, I locked it there. You see up at the top, it says AE/AF lock. Now, no matter where I go, it's going to stay at that brighter exposure. So you can actually lock it. Now, how do I unlock it? Because you see at the top, I have that yellow box that says it's locked. I can just tap anywhere to unlock it. So holding my finger down locks in the exposure in that area. Important tip to know. Another thing too, while you're here, is if I tap to expose in a certain area, look at that little sun icon. You see that little sun? Did you know that you can use your finger to drag that sun upward and it is going to brighten the photo right there? It's going to give you a brightener right then and there. So you just put your finger on that little sun and you scroll upward with your finger and it's going to pump your exposure upward. Just a quick tip there for you. And now that I've enabled RAW, that's the last thing I have to say about RAW, and then I can either get to questions or whatever. In the upper right-hand corner of my screen, I now have a RAW indicator where I can set that to RAW or I can tap it to slash through RAW, therefore generating two different photos. And here they are, the RAW image and the JPEG image. I don't think we're going to see much of a difference at this level. If I zoom in, I don't think we're going to see too much of a difference. It isn't until you start getting into the editing where you start really seeing a giant difference in RAW versus the JPEG. And there really are no other tips necessarily that are related to RAW that I could show you. But I'm open to questions or whatever else we want to get to.
I posted a question in the chat.
Yeah, if you have a photo with someone that the Photos app has not recognized, is there a way to tag someone? Yeah, yep. Now they moved that one a couple times, but I think I'll be able to find it. Let me see. I'm going to go in my library here and let's just sort of zoom in on a place where maybe I have a person that is not one of us. Here's one. Yeah. So this particular photo is a person that is not in my people. They're not yet recognized. Now, what happens is if I put my finger on this photo and I just push it upward, this isn't an expected action because for years, our Photos app has only scrolled side to side. And the only reason why it would move up is if we did the share thing. But you can actually push up on any photo. I'm just flicking it up like a light switch. And that opens some more stuff. Now you see underneath, it says people. That means it's recognizing the people in this photo. Now I happen to choose a photo with somebody that I don't know and is not familiar to me. And that's why it just says people. I'll come back to that in a moment, but let me go to a photo of somebody that is familiar to me. This one here. Now, if I push up on that photo, just like I did the other one, it doesn't, it says people, but it shows me who it is, right? It knows it's got her face there and it knows the location. The other one didn't know the location, but this one does. So it's not only showing me the people in the photo, but it's showing me the location. Kind of boring when it's only one person. Let's go to a group shot and see what the group shot has to say about it. I'm just going to go back to like November where we had family photos for our Christmas card. So if I go back there and I get a group shot from that day, that would be, okay, December 2020. It was like November. Here we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, go to a photo that has a group in it, like this one. That's a whole bunch of people. If I flick up, look, there they all are. I can view those people here. Now back to the photo of the person I didn't know. Let's go back there for a moment. Let me scroll back there so I can show you how you would add somebody. Let's see, photo of the person that I didn't know. Where'd you go? Well, I may not be able to find it quickly. So what I'll do is just show you the same thing, but on a different photo. Okay, I'll go back this way and we'll just take this one and I'm going to push up. Well, hey, it worked. It wasn't intentional, but it worked. There's one person, which is me, who we know is in that photo. The other is Bruce Lee. That's an unknown person there. So to answer the question in chat, if you have a photo with somebody in it who isn't yet in your people album, you would just flick up so you could see the people that are involved in that photo. It'll show them. Sometimes there's a person in the photo, but they don't show up down there. That means that the Photos app hasn't recognized that as a face. For some reason, it's confused by something going on the face. But to add this to my people album now, I'm going to tap on that little icon there of Bruce Lee that you see. I'm going to tap on it. Because what that'll do is show me other photos with that person in it. And now I happen to have two. One, the bottom one, I don't know what I'm doing. And the top one, I was showing off my new shirt with Bruce Lee on it. You see here at the top, I can now name that person. So to answer your question, if you have a photo in it with someone not recognized as a way to tag them, yes, I would go to the photo, I would flick up, it would recognize them. I'm assuming it would recognize them like it has done with Bruce Lee here. I would tap that icon, and then at the top where it says add name, I would tap it and name them. And I would then have that person in as a people in my people album.
Okay, so my question actually had to do with that other one right before you just said this, where it's not recognizing a face. And with lots of masks right now, that's happening.
Yes.
So if I'm not getting any people to tap, other than adding a caption, is there any other way to say, hey, there's a person here?
No. And I hate it.
There isn't. Okay.
And I hate it because there are times when I'm like, they're right there. Can you just like, how come you don't see them? And sometimes it's really odd. Like, oh, here's one. Here, I just found one. There's a fad among these kids. They like to take the phone and vibrate it when they take the picture to make it blurry. They think it's so funny. So she does this like twice a week. She'll grab the phone and shake it. And so I have a bunch of these on here. If you look, it didn't recognize anybody. Even though two of us are in here, there's no way to identify us. And I can't force it. I can't say, hey, there's people in here. All I can do is, like you said, I could add a caption there, but yeah, you can't force it. So
okay, that answers my
Hey,
question.
Pete, can't you still tag it the old-fashioned way on your Mac, and you do a Command K and you get the list?
Yep. On your Mac, you can keyword it. And I think you can even add people, I think you can, but you got to be on your Mac. Yeah. From iOS, they haven't given a way to do that yet.
Right.
And it won't recognize my dog. And I'm kind of upset about that. I mean, because he's a good boy and he should be recognized, but it never picks him up. Cats, it picks up, but dogs, just for whatever reason, don't pick them up. Now, I want to show you one more thing. Take a look at this while we're on this topic, because this has miffed me a couple of times too. This is my wife, and look at her icon below the picture. You see how it has a blue background and she's wearing a black shirt? That's her. That's how I know, basically that's her contact photo for me. But check this out. When I go to another photo, like let's say this one, and I pop it up, do you see the icon of my wife there? She's the first one. It has a white border. That's not the icon that I use for her. So what does that tell me? That Photos recognizes that as a person, but Photos isn't identifying that as her. You see that? If
Yeah,
I go,
there's no name under it.
well, yeah, it doesn't do a name. Unfortunately, there's like the icon. But look, if I go back to the correct one, that's what I expect to see when it's identifying her as a person. If I go back to this one and I click up, it isn't that one. So what I do whenever I see this is I correct it. I want to tell the Photos app that, hey, you have it wrong. Even though you've identified that as a person, you should have known that was my wife. So I tell it every time I see this. Here's how you do it. I just tap on that photo. And it's saying, here's more of that person. Who is it? That's when I tap that add name at the top and I start typing. This is what I was talking about earlier, folks. This is where the big stop sign comes in, because I could just type a name and hit done. But what I'm looking for is her contact. You see it there? You see it says Alexia Lozzi there? And it's the blue picture, the right one. So if I tap that and then click done, it has now, look back at that picture. It's using the right icon and it's tagging the right person now because I had to correct that. I'm obsessed with that, you guys. I spend a lot of time doing that. Like I'll look at my daughters here. Here, it just happened again. We're getting kind of lucky because I'm pretty vigilant about this. I go through and correct those all the time in my spare time just for the fun of it. The one on the left is Kailea. That's one of my two daughters. That's the right icon for her. The one on the right is Juliana. That is not the right icon for her. She has a green one, just like Kailea does. What this indicates to me visually in this moment is that Photos has recognized that background person as a person, but it's pulling them into this other group of a person that isn't them. So I'm going to correct it like I always do. I'm going to tap that one. And it's saying, hey, there's a bunch of photos with that person in it. I'm going to say, yeah, that's Juliana. And for some reason, you didn't recognize her. So now look, I'm typing. And guess what popped up? The proper entry. So I'm going to tap that with my finger. Now, all those photos that had previous been misclassified have been lumped back into the proper classification of photos of Juliana. Here's another one. Now it's fixed. So as I'm scrolling through and looking at these photos, I just pop it open. Here's my friend Eric. Pop it up. It doesn't recognize Eric. So I'm going to tap that. I'm going to go in, type his name, put it in the right bucket and click on done. Now it's classified properly.
Pete, this is Bev. Are you tapping the photo or the icon?
To correct it, what I'm doing is I'm tapping the icon itself. So I'll show you. I know you can't really see where my finger's going, so I'll kind of turn it so you can see. But if I, here, let me go back. Oh wait, that's a video. I'll go to a photo. I'll flick up on that photo. Aha, look, it's happened again. That photo is showing me correctly, but her incorrectly, as you can see there. Now, yeah, I'm going to put my finger right on that little icon there of the incorrect one. And then when I do that, there she is, incorrectly classified. I'm going to add her in properly. Oh, no, that's not Alexia. That's Kailea. I got to make sure I get the right person and click done. And now she is properly classified. So yeah, I'll go through and do that quite often. Just look at photos, flick up on it, see if it's, we like to make mean faces too. See if it is the right people and then move on with my life. It's pretty easy to do too, since it's just a flicking up motion like this. You can just do a quick visual and verify.
How do you get this green background on all these?
You mean like which part?
Oh, the ones that were the good ones, every one of them said a green background.
Oh yeah.
Well, do that?
That's just, I have a green screen. We sometimes when we want to take pictures, we set it up and then we cancel out the background and stuff. So I just use a green screen for those.
Oh, that thing behind you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
This is big green screen back there. I recommend them. They're a lot of fun, especially in today's Zoom world. You can do a lot of fun things with them. and they're fairly inexpensive. They're just kind of cumbersome. They're big and they're hard to light properly, but they can be fun. Yeah, so lots of great conversation. The one thing we didn't get to, I kind of wish we did, I'll mention it here, is editing video right in the, if I hit the edit button right in the Photos app, I can now trim the video. You see down below, I can shorten this video down to just the part I want. And you can also trim the video as far as, the exposure and those sorts of things. It's amazing. You can do all the same things with a photo that you can a video. It's really powerful. And here's what I love. When you click the done button, you see this thing that just popped up. I can save the video in its modified form, right? I can say, well, since I only wanted 3 seconds from the middle of this 2-minute video, I can hit save video and it's going to get rid of everything else except that 3 seconds. Now remember, photos is non-destructive, so I could go back later and re-expand that. But the nice thing about save video as opposed to save video as new clip is you took this 2-minute video that only had 3 good seconds in it and you got rid of everything else, so you can immediately see the 3 seconds. Now, if I say save as a new video clip, that puts it alongside the old one as a shorter version. So you see what I've just done there? I've, let me see, where is that clip? You see the 29-second one right here and the 3-second one or 5-second one right here from where I just trimmed it out. So I have 2. And I took the 5 seconds from the middle of that one and I made a new video. This didn't exist until the last update. So it's been a really powerful thing to have as far as that update goes.
Another thing I really love about the video editing is that when a video thinks you were photographing vertically, but you weren't, you can turn it so it's horizontal. Didn't used to be able to do that.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's found under the little crop. Remember earlier we were talking about all the crop stuff? Just like a photo, you can turn a video. That doesn't cure the fact that video should almost always be shot in landscape. So, if you take one thing away from tonight's thing, please always shoot in landscape, never in portrait.
Yes.
And the why for that is that all the screens we view this stuff on are going that way. None of them are really going this way. So if we knew it was going to be for social media or something where we knew it was going to be portrait, then that's one thing. But 99.9% of the time when I pull my phone out, it's sideways and I'm filming, that way.
Yeah, if you're pointing down at things, if you're photographing something on the ground, the phone has no idea whether you want it to be vertical or horizontal. So it's nice to be able to go back and correct that now.
Absolutely. Yep. What else? Anybody else have anything they kind of want to geek out on? Or?
Pete, I was practicing what you talked about on selecting one. You're in library, you select a person and you flip up, and it's me with a mask on getting my vaccine.
Oh, cool.
So it said add a caption, and I added a caption because it didn't recognize or go to a people, I guess, like we were talking about. But then, and I say done, and then when I go back to the library, it's just a picture. So is there any way to know which pictures have captions on them? I mean, this is one picture in 1,000 that now has a caption.
Yeah, so the only way to harvest those captions, and I'm going to put the word elephant here. No, I'll just put zebra here, just because it's an uncommon word, and I'll show you why. Captions, I'll just put Kailea zebra here. That's the caption that I put. Now, when I go to search and I search for the word zebra, that photo will show up.
Okay.
It hasn't for the moment because it's indexing right now, but yeah, that's the only place you can harvest those captions is in the search. But just viewing a photo, it doesn't show it on there, which is, I mean, can be kind of counterintuitive. It's like, why don't you show the caption? Come on.
So Pete, I just tried that and it didn't show up either, but you're saying that after it finishes indexing, it will, and that means like plugging it in and waiting a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, or yeah, sometimes it's almost instant. Sometimes it does take, until tomorrow or something. I'm going to try it again just to see if this one happened to be instant. Yeah, mine's already done. So you see I'm putting the word
Okay.
zebra in and it's pulling up this photo. This is really good for if like you want, Barb Effenberger, remember the club? I haven't seen her for a while, but she was always asking me like, hey, I want to make an album of my flowers, my garden and stuff. And this would be a great way to, if you make a caption on each of the photos that says garden, then when you saw somebody you knew at the grocery store, hey, Janet, how's it going? Good to see you. She says, hey, got pictures of your garden. I want to see. You could go in photos, just hit the word garden, and then all the photos that you've marked as photos that are worth sharing about your garden will come up right away. So you're not scrolling through a bunch trying to find them. It's a really nice utility when you use it.
Hey,
On the
Pete,
captions, I guess a good lesson just learned is I put Bev waiting for vaccine. Well, when I searched for Bev, it didn't come up. When I searched Bev waiting, it popped up. So be simple and pure in one's captions.
Sure. And yeah, then the name could be redundant since it doesn't recognize you. It's not. So then, yeah, you're fine there. But yeah, if you put the name and the name is already identified, then yeah, there's some redundancies and stuff. The same thing used to happen with keywords. When we used to do keywording, that same type of thing used to happen where we would, God. I was wiped out. That's what I get for flipping the bird. But yeah, keywording used to be the same thing where I used to teach classes on keywording and I used to say, just don't go overboard. So Bev, I agree with you. Just be succinct, find a word that you're going to remember. And it's really good for compartmentalizing things, like photos. If you have work photos that you have to parse out and you don't want to make an album. Because here's the thing about albums is albums are reactionary. You make albums later, right? You have to do the work of albums later. If you want an album of your whatever it is, the meals you make, that means after each meal, you have to go and find them and put them in the album. Instead, I really like this concept of just putting a caption on it, which takes a little bit of forethought, right? I would go, if I ever ran into somebody in the grocery store who wanted to see pictures of my food that I've been cooking, because it's my hobby and I like talking about it, what word would I put in here that would make it easy for me to harvest these photos the next time I hit that search icon? So you would just think of words like those that would make it real easy to harvest those photos. Then when you're done taking them, you just drop a caption in there and you don't have to worry about keeping an album updated, because it can get hard to keep an album updated, always going in and doing the photos and stuff. So that's what I do is I just caption them. And then that way I can harvest those captioned photos very quickly with the search feature.
Hey, Pete,
Uh-huh.
can you send me a link to your green screen setup
Oh, yes.
to
Mhm.
the products and stuff? I know it's looks like you have it permanently mounted and spooled up and stuff. And I'm assuming that's your garage.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're hung down here and then
Sure.
I pull the
I like
chain
it.
there.
I like it.
And then you see the smoke and mirrors behind me. But yeah,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wizard of Oz.
yeah.
Very cool.
Pete's playroom.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
Pete, do you have an alternate word for zebra?
No, I
Because
don't.
it does, if you actually have zebras in your photo library, which I do.
Good point. Yep. I shouldn't have picked something that it's possibly looking for. Yep.
But
So
I've
yeah,
been trying other Z words and all I get is, the message that there's no match.
Try xylem. I think it's XYLEM.
shoot, you could even make a series of numbers. You could say, you could do a 4-digit code. You could say my gardening photos are going to be 1358. My food photos are going to be 6432. Maybe it's even the FOOD, right? Would be what is that? F is what, 606 I don't know, whatever the numeric, I mean, you could get super creative, but to Bob's point, if it's something that's commonly found in your library, like I wouldn't put a caption of the word food on food photos, because when you search food, you get the phone book, you get everything. So, yep, something to be aware of there for sure.
Hey, Pete, here's an interesting question. I'm looking on our MacNexus Facebook page, and Karen Downs said, after Pete's presentation on photos tonight, I checked to see what extensions I had available, and the only one was Markup. So I went to the App Store and downloaded an app that I knew included a Photos extension, but when I click the ellipsis in Photos, Markup is still the only extension that shows. I checked the settings for Photos to see if I needed to activate something, but didn't find anything there. So what next? And then Carolyn Monson said, I downloaded one and it took several minutes to show up. Keep checking. Think that's it?
Yeah, that's part of it. Because yeah. So what the app developer is doing is using a development environment called extensions. And so, yeah, the app developer, first of all, has to activate the extension, right? They have to code it in. They have to say, yes, it is okay for somebody to use this app with photos as an extension. So that's number one. The reason I mention that is because you might think an app has an extension, which I know you just got a list of them that do. So you're probably right. But some apps just don't have extensions. Now, when you do go to this screen and you don't have any apps that are extension capable, you're likely not to see anything like Karen is describing, except for this ellipsis over here that says more. Because that ellipsis is where you would go to view the entire list of apps on your phone that have extensions available. Because not all of them are activated. Sometimes they're not toggled on properly. So that would be the place you would go to be able to toggle them on, is right in there. Yeah, let me cancel that.
So you're in Photos and looking at what? Or are you in Settings and looking at your camera?
No, settings isn't necessary. Yeah, so you would just go select any photo. And then let's see, I'll just select this photo here. And from this photo, you would go to the edit, and then under the ellipsis in the upper right, after choosing edit, you get Markup, which is very cool on its own. Markup has a lot of very nice tools in there to be able to mark up a photo. But in addition, you should see all the extensions across there. Now, it may be that you only see the word more there. You see how mine's at the end?
Right.
But sometimes it's all the way over to the left there, and it's the only thing there. And if you click that, you can turn on or off some extensions. So that would be what I would recommend. You see how I could remove these if I wanted to. I could remove them from.
You can also reorder them too, right?
Yes, I think you can. Let me see, done. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can add them to favorites and then reorder them from your favorites. So any that you add up to your favorites, yeah, you can reorder them from here. That way they're always at the front, of it. But yeah, so I know it can be a little tricky. It does take a minute sometimes it waits until your phone reboots for the extension to be active. So it could be, it could be the next time it reboots, it'll show. Another thing though, just a warning though, and you may want to post this comment on that Facebook thread or whatever. My warning is some app developers are really lazy, and they just don't do a very good job of making the extension function properly. I want to show, I saw an example earlier, which irritated me, but I didn't call it out because we didn't really have time. But I'm going to go back into my retype extension, right? This is a whole nother app. This is another third-party app developer. This isn't Apple making this extension, although Apple is allowing it to be part of the Photos app temporarily as an extension. But I open this retype extension and notice at the bottom of the screen, the little drawer of options it's broken. I can't see it. It's way down there. Why? Because the app developer has been too lazy to fix it. So sometimes you do get extensions that don't function as expected because the app developers are lazy. So they don't always work as expected, even though they show up like this one here. Let me do a different one just to see if any of my other ones, here, I'll go here. Here's Pixlr. It looks like this one is okay. It's got a lot of little effects here and stuff that you can do. So yeah, it looks like that one was okay. I'll click done here. And then there's my cool effects for that photo. So yeah, it's hit and miss. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they don't work at all. But the lists that Al posted, I would hope were curated by the authors of those lists to represent the best of the best.
There's quite a few of them there.
Oh, picture that needs rotating.
Yeah, exactly. Edit. Go to my little cropping thing there. This is
I'm so grateful for that. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And again, you were shooting down on it, so the camera thought you wanted a vertical instead of a horizontal.
Well, you're absolutely right that when shooting, the shooting down is the time that rears its sort of ugly head the most. But I will say that you do have a visual indicator of when the camera is shooting portrait or landscape. You'll see that the arrows will rotate.
What arrows?
There's little arrows. Two things rotate. The arrows at the bottom here. Wait, can I point? Oh yeah. These arrows, see those right there?
Oh, okay.
Those will rotate, as well as this thumbnail, the thumbnail in the lower
thumbnail
left.
rotate, yeah.
But that's a visual indicator, because sometimes I'm shooting down and I see those rotate and I'm like, oh, let me lift it back up, rotate them back, and then be careful next time. Also, when you're shooting straight up and down, do you see the little two crosshairs that appear? If you perfectly level them, then you have a straight phone. Then you're going to get a perfect top-down shot. So you see how they're off of level right now? See how they're out of level?
Do those come up automatically, or do you have to enable that?
I may have enabled it. They only come up when your phone is almost flat, because it's for fine tuning. So it only comes up when the phone is almost flat, and then it shows up there. And it's so you can get the perfect flatness for taking a straight on photo.
Well, that's really good.
If yours doesn't have it, then it must have been a setting. I guess I could go into the settings. Let's see here.
I haven't ever seen it.
I have a really basic question. When I looked at the extensions or the apps, the only app I have for photos is Markup, and that's fine. When I then make it function, it gives me a selection of tools, which I discover if I keep my finger on them, if I select one and keep my finger there, sometimes it would then become a functional tool. But it seems to not work on a consistent basis. So I'm just wondering, do you happen to know how I actually use one of these markup tools, how I activate it?
Yeah, markup is maddening sometimes. So I empathize with you. Yeah, let's look at markup for a minute then, and then that'll probably be my last. If that's okay with everybody, it'll probably be my last thing.
Can I tag onto that? Just like the retype, when I'm searching for it in the App Store, is it spelled a special way?
No, but it is. I think it's old. So sometimes they remove apps from the App Store, and then because I bought it back then, it still lets me have it. Oh yeah, I don't see it in here anymore. So it either got changed to something else. Here's one, Typorama, looks pretty much the same as retype, but yeah, I don't see retype anymore. That could explain why the thing is broken, because the app developer stopped making it, or they stopped updating it, and it is a very old app though. Okay, about markup, it can be really maddening. I'm going to go to edit, and then we're going to go to the markup tool. And markup is great for little things like, you could put a text caption on here. It's this little plus in the lower right that's where you shop. That's where you find the things that you want to add. And so I'm going to add a shape. I'm just going to circle Isaiah. There he is on his little go-kart next to the police car. So I'm going to choose a circle here. And what it does is just drops this circle on the screen. And notice if I click away from it anywhere, well, now I can no longer edit that circle because it's no longer selected. So I've sat here before going, well, I'm trying to change the color, and then I go back and it's not changed. What gives? I got to tap that circle again to bring the handles back. Now I can change the color. Now, if I add something else like text, and I pull that text over here, I can double tap the text and start typing in the box. But then when I'm done, now the text has been deselected and I can't edit it anymore. So it can be maddening. I have to tap it again. And then only when I tap it again and the handles appear, can I change the color or other parameters like the font over here. There's a little font. Make it larger or smaller. But the key is that you have to select it. So that circle, I don't like that it's an oval. I want to select it again and drag the handles and make it into a little circle. There are times when I drag something and I draw a line on accident, like I just did. See, I drew a little red slash. It's because I'm trying to drag that circle, but why won't it let me drag it? Well, because I have to tap it first to select it, and then I can drag it. Other things aren't like that. You can just drag them. So markup is a little bit maddening. I know that. And you just got to get used to its little quirks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry, the one who said the second thing about markup. Yeah, I know we wanted to talk about the cumbersome nature of selecting and editing the tools, but was that it? I thought there was a piggyback question.
Well, I have a piggyback question, but it's not that one.
Okay.
Is there just a quick way to go to the Apple defaults where they have the little dot? You know, if you click one button, will it take all of the various things that Apple recommends and zone you in there?
Oh, you mean for over here in the editing?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. So you're saying, can we just set it to those automatically? Yes. As a matter of fact, they're all set there. They're already there. That's where Apple's defaults will always be. So let me just go into another. I'll go into this. I'll hit the edit button here. And then if you'll notice, as I go through each of these sliders, if I move it, I'm actually moving it away from the dot, right?
So it's already there. Okay.
Yep, all of them are currently on Apple's recommended spot. And then you're basically pulling it away from there, doing what you want to do with it. Wow.
Pete, this has been really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm delighted that we get to do these things. I'm trying to set up like a virtual Empower Mac where we would do these things like where you'd have 2 hours a day to choose from of instruction, and it would be a pay-as-you-go type thing. I'm really working hard on getting it set up, making a price point for everybody, and just making it really fair. So keep a lookout for that. But thanks for hanging out for a while after the show, and it's always great catching up and answering some questions and basically geeking out with the rest of my geeks and my nerds. Saying that as affectionately as I mean it there.
Great. Thank you very much, Pete.
Good.
Thank you. And Al, thanks for all those links. Good to see you. Al, I sent you an email.
Great.
It was a while back though. It might have been on your .Mac account. I'm not sure if
you have it. That's correct. I still use the .Mac.
Okay.
You can't get that anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's a badge of honor, man.
That's right.
In the .me. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and look forward to seeing you again next time.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.